Good morning, everyone. I'm Alex, the prince who has no idea what he's doing with his life, and welcome back to my channel. As I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, I adore Sandersides. It's been my main special interest for the past 2 years now, capturing pretty much any and all thoughts that have gone through my mind in one way or another. So, really, it was only a matter of time before I started making videos outside of the main series for it. Outside of reaction videos for the main series. If any of you follow me on Tumblr, you'll have seen that the last few days I've been talking a lot about theory and speculation videos of Sandersides, like many other fandoms have had on the wonderful wide web over the years. I know that I'm definitely a little bit late to be talking about this, since it's been many months since the last episode of the main series, but I really wanted to make these theory videos, and you gotta start somewhere, right? And my starting choice: what is going on between Virgil and Patton? It's no secret that Thomas's anxiety and morality have been
only the bestest, mostest, dynamicest duo in the entire Thomosphere
for a long time now. Out of all the characters, dare I say they're the closest in canon. Patton was one of the first to accept Virgil with open arms, and they've been pretty much at each other's sides for the rest of the series. But lately, things have been not so great. Something's happened between our favorite dad and son, and today, we're gonna try to figure out what that is. Before we do anything though, let's take a look at the history of our beloved Moxiety. I don't know how to pronounce that. Let's go! At the start of the series, Patton and Virgil's relationship was about the same as it was with everyone else. Virgil was seen as the villain, and Patton aided the others in trying to defeat him like a dragon raiding the perfect kingdom. Neither side liked each other.
Well, what about anxiety? He always seems to get you down.
And that was just how it was.
Even though you're a clueless moron the rest of the time.
Oh, okay.
As the series went on though, their hatred really started to get to Virgil. Patton was the second one to really accept Virgil after Logan and their debate, but Patton was significantly more vocal about his change.
What up, anxiety?
This was where the fandom started to pick up on their relationship, and it really started to grow. After Virgil's acceptance arc, the pair seemed to have a much more special bond than any of the others. Virgil is significantly softer with Patton than he is with the others, and Patton's always had a soft spot for his kiddo.
I love my dark, strange son.
They've had each other's backs.
You don't have to be mean to him.
And they've kept each other from spiraling into the dark places of their minds.
Easy there, Kylo friend.
Whether you see them as being best friends, boyfriends, or the father-son relationship we all dream of having, there's no denying that the two of them have been relationship goals for a long time. However, things have changed in more recent videos. At the end of learning new things about ourselves, Virgil sets a boundary that shook the entire fandom.
I don't always like when you talk about me like I'm some innocent, harmless angel. Oh!
And since then, things have been a little bit rocky. While Patton has been trying his hardest to keep their friendship the same, Virgil's been less than kind to our fun-loving father figure Figment.
You mean patronized?
Whatever.
This latest episode in the universe and the first episode in the Sandersides series did nothing but confirm this for us.
How can Thomas feel BAD with his inner DAD?
I can think of a few ways.
So, what happened? I've got 4 little theories for you folks today, some more plausible in my mind than others, and we're going to take a look at them in order of when that shift began. Before we start, I would like to ensure that you guys know that these are only theories coming from my mind and in no way are going to reflect what's going to happen in the show. This is all purely speculation. If any of these contradict the theories that you have or feel like an attack on what you think is going to happen, I promise you that that is never going to be my intention. I will always encourage people to create and speculate and view your media the way that you want to. And as long as you're respectful of the fact that not everyone is going to have the same ideas as you do, I encourage you folks to discuss and tell me your theories in the comments below. Now, in the words of Miss Mojo, number 1, Virgil still feels like he's being babied. I'll admit that this one is a little bit on the weaker side since it was quite a while ago that it happened, but I still wanted to include it because while it might not be the core reason, it still could be contributing to the rift. From the moment Virgil set that boundary, it was clear that things were going to be a little bit awkward between the two. A lot of their relationship up to that point had been built on that dynamic, so having that shift and be taken away left a lot of that friendship to the unknown. I want to be clear, Virgil has every right to set that boundary. If someone's making you uncomfortable, you have the right to tell them to stop. It's up to Patton to live up to that, and from what we've seen, he's really been trying.
I always try to show Virgil love and support, but lately, I feel like I always inevitably do something wrong.
Oh, Patton.
But people do make mistakes. Growth is a process, and a big adjustment like that isn't always easy. But I'll be honest, I don't really have any examples after that talk that Thomas and Patton had. So, like I said, probably not the core reason. But maybe it did start Virgil feeling a little bit bitter towards Patton, which slowly evolved into the snippy remarks that he's giving now. Number 2. Virgil is wary of Patton after realizing the power that he holds in dealing with intrusive thoughts. In the series, character Thomas is an extremely morally upright man, always wanting to do what's right, so it makes sense that the embodiment of his morality is going to hold a lot of sway over his mind. It's always been a thing, but we didn't see just how much he holds until the trial in selfishness versus selflessness and the extremes that they were pushed to in dealing with intrusive thoughts. The more Thomas worries about whether or not he's a good person, the more obvious it becomes that Patton is no insignificant side. However, Patton is extremely stubborn to see that Thomas isn't a perfect person, to the point where he practically blinds himself to even the idea of such a thing. Given how close he and Virgil are, it wouldn't really be a stretch to say that they hang out behind the scenes, which makes it likely that some of that intoxicating optimism has rubbed off onto Virgil. While that may sound like a good thing to you and I, it would be pretty horrifying to learn from Virgil's perspective. It's his job to motivate Thomas into doing what he needs to do, and one of those things is being a good person. If he's been manipulated into believing that they're already there and that there's no more work to be done, he's not going to be able to see it whenever Thomas actually does do something wrong. Remus's introduction may have reminded Virgil that Thomas isn't perfect, and now he may be afraid that if he listens to Patton again, he'll forget that again, and he'll stop paying attention to whether or not Thomas is doing the right thing until it's too late and he slid down what he believes is the slippery slope to being a bad person. The embodiment of anxiety, that's gotta be terrifying. It's a rude wake-up call to reality for Virgil.
He's not the naturally good person that you wish he was, Patton.
It's possible that he's trying to take steps to keep them away from the worst-case scenario, which I'm sure he has 1,000 different versions of in his mind. And one of those steps is to keep Patton from overpowering him. This next point goes hand in hand with this. Virgil blames Patton for what's happening. If Patton was the one to influence Virgil into letting his guard down, it's entirely possible that Virgil thinks that this whole mess with the dark sides is Patton's fault. Logan points out that it's both of their faults that Remus has become such a nuisance lately. Everyone is shocked to hear that Patton's in the wrong, but Virgil's the only one to really vocalize it.
Patton?
I don't know about you, but to me it kind of sounded fearful along with that shock and confusion. There might have been something that he didn't think about when he was analyzing the situation initially. His and Patton's influence on each other. If this is the case, then he's either realizing his effects on Patton, which we'll get more into later, or Patton's effects on him. On top of that, maybe Virgil recognizes that Patton's repressing habits are part of the reason why the dark sides have so much power. The more he represses, the more that there is to lose whenever things inevitably come crashing down. And the more Thomas realizes that, the more stress he gets, which attracts deceit in Remus. Patton, intentionally or not, is giving them all the incentive they need to make themselves known. And Virgil knows this. At the end of dealing with intrusive thoughts, Virgil mentions to Remus that he used to think of him as some terrible illness, but now recognizes him as nothing more than a common cold that's gone before you know it. It's clear that Logan's explanation of what Remus does was what changed his mind on that. If Patton was the only one that he talked to about it before, then it's entirely possible that Virgil believes he's the reason he got so overreacting and worked up about the situation. And now, my final point, which I believe is the juiciest. Virgil blames himself. Remus's appearance might have reminded Virgil of a fear that he'd been having for a long time. That he'd never truly separated himself from the label of being a dark side. When the two of them express the same dark thought at the same time, you can clearly see the terror on Virgil's face. Perhaps this is the moment that Virgil remembers what he used to be and starts to worry that he never really got any better. As the episode goes on, he looks more and more regretful until he can barely even look at Thomas. And when Logan only says it was Virgil's reaction that kept Thomas up, even though he'd said that it was both his and Patton's fault, this only further cements it in his mind. When Logan says it's both him and Patton that are causing the problem, Virgil may have come to the conclusion that it's his influence on Patton that's caused this mess. He keeps glancing at him all guilty for the rest of the episode, especially when Patton says that he didn't realize
what an impossible standard I've been setting.
It's almost like he's thinking, no, Pat, it's not your fault, it's mine. Virgil is pushing Patton away because he's afraid he's corrupting Thomas's morals, and he's doing it the only way he knows how, being mean and snarky. If it worked before he was accepted, who's to say it won't work now, right? When Patton says at the end of the episode that he'll try not to pester Thomas about his intrusive thoughts anymore, we don't see Virgil's reaction. In fact, we don't see him at all until he and Thomas are alone and he gives the big reveal that he used to be a dark side. I think that's worth noting, as we don't have a clue what's going through his head until then. Virgil tells Thomas that he's a little disappointed in himself, that he thought that he could protect Thomas from the others. Specifically, the others. He refuses to call them the dark sides. Maybe it's because he still thinks of himself as one of them, and he doesn't want Thomas to think that he's referring to himself too. He is, no pun intended, on Thomas's side after all. But maybe now he's realized that no matter which side he's on, he's always going to be a dark side. and he's always going to be hurting Thomas, whether he wants to or not. Maybe he's realized that his being with the light sides is doing more damage than if he was still with the dark sides, corrupting them from the inside, rather than trying to break down their defenses from the outside. Maybe Virgil's going to go back to the dark sides, and he's trying to cut off his ties with Patton so that he doesn't come running after him. All of these, of course, are just speculation. What I'm thinking may be way overdramatic or way out of character for Patton and Virgil. And honestly, if I'm wrong, I'm really excited to see where Thomas and Joan and crew are going to be taking this. If any of you have any theories on what you think is going on between them, leave a comment. I would love to read what you guys think. Or, if you have any other theories you'd like for me to cover, leave them down below, and I will get to them as soon as I can. If you want to see more of these, please leave a like and subscribe. It would really help me out and motivate me into making more. Thank you all so much for watching this video and sticking through my jumbled thoughts on all what's going on here. Until next time, see you around, folks.